Speaking of AI, it's always a thrill when Jeff Welton drops by, talks to us.
I don't know if I'm either artificial or intelligent, but
Well, what I was going to do is start out by spreading a rumor that Nortel is now installing AI in their transmitters so it can tell you what's wrong if you're paying attention. Can you imagine, Hi, I'm Jeff, your Nortel AI. Tell me
uh,
what you want me to do.
can say, I mean, most of our gear has been able to tell you what was wrong for decades, one way or another, whether it was providing a closure to light a light or whether it's putting an email out. So, yeah, I mean, there has been talk over the years, and I'll give an example of doing a what would you want to do? Like, say you wanted to set up a preset, you could click a question mark icon on the preset menu and have it jump up a how do I list of FAQs type thing that could walk you through it. Um, there's a lot of manpower required in creating something like that. Basically, you're virtualizing the handbook,
Yeah.
and it could happen at some point, but to take it the further step to an iterative AI, I don't see that anytime soon.
Well, that's true. I mean,
Last thing I want is to have a computer sitting at the transmitter site connected to a network with some intelligent algorithm that says, hey, let's go and check for Jeff's bank balance.
it could start to say, and I don't like that record, and therefore we're going to turn you off. Open
Well, and
the
it's a slippery slope. I mean, I've got, as an example, you know, if you've got a low power transmitter being used as a translator on an AM and the AM goes off at night, theoretically the translator can originate. But if the AM goes off during scheduled hours, the translator is supposed to go off as well. And I'm willing to bet I could count on not too many fingers the number that actually do that. And I can see in a smart case where it's, oh, that's off the air, we'll just shut down. So yeah, I think it's a slippery slope.
Jeff, turn off the transmitter.
Yeah.
I'm
See,
sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
I still look at the Zoom meeting minutes that are AI generated, and I mean, until they're able to come up with a semi-coherent version of what actually happened in the meeting, I don't think I'm going to worry about having it control my boxes.
Yeah. But the reality is that we do, in real terms, listen to our transmitters, and that's how we know what's going on. What do? You listen, you read, you think. You can hear the fans when they go bad. In the old
Sometimes,
days, yeah, in the
yeah,
old
I mean, or you can do iterative, like download meter readings on a scheduled basis and create trend plots. But yeah, there are options for ways to monitor this stuff.
in the old
Um,
days when the transmitter wasn't happy, there would be bang and flashes and other things like that that would alert you to their unhappiness.
mhm.
But now we have solid state transmitters, and very few of them go bang flash. Do they, Jeff?
Oh, we're not talking to the same people at all, apparently, because I can tell you I've replaced several this year that have gone bang flash from various vendors. Yeah, no, transmitter's a transmitter. It's connected to a giant lightning rod. It all comes down to how clean, how cool, and how well grounded it is. So yeah, you know, um, the difference typically, and I'm going to quantify that in a second, but typically a solid state transmitter, if something fails, you're down a little in power, you got a red light, and you can fix it at your leisure. Whereas a tube rig, there are very few things that can go boom without taking you totally off air.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, the tube transmitters, as a rule, tended to be a little more forgiving about lightning. You'd shorten the tube life a little, but nobody noticed whether you got, you know, 7 years and 11 months versus 8 years out of a tube. So, you know, that's kind of the trade-off. Now, having said that, I've also seen solid state gear. I mean, it's still running through mechanical combiners. It's still running through diplexers, channel combiners, whatever, depending on AM or FM. There's still a whole lot of line with a whole lot of connectors and a whole lot of bullets that may or may not have been installed correctly. There's a lot of stuff that can go boom and take it down.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you have some pictures to prove it. But
I've made a living showing those pictures. Yeah. But, oh, you talked earlier about shoot, I forgot the name already. Mark was talking from ATSC retiring. And I just wanted to bring that up because this month, Wendell Lonergan, who some of you will know, is this is his last IBC. He's been plotting retirement for over a year. And September 26th is his last official day. So I couldn't grab him in here because typical Wendell fashion, he's in a meeting. But yeah, just so you know, if you do know him, give him a shout. Say, hey.
Can you repeat his name? I didn't catch that.
Lonergan, Lonergan. We hired him out of tech school when he was 19 or 20 years old. He's been with us 47 years. He was the design team lead on the MFET series AMs, our first AM transmitters. I know Grady will know those ones. And see, Grady knows. I just pick on him now and again just to make sure he's paying attention. But yeah, I mean, so 47 years he's been with Nautel. It's the only company he's ever worked for since graduation.
I've worked with Wendell since the early 80s as well.
Yep.
He's a great guy. He's always done well for everyone that it comes in contact with him. And I sent him some email wishing him happy retirement. And
he's also a heck of a guitar player.
well, there you go. Now he's got something to do. Make a song about Nautel.
He has got 2 sailboats, a wife, couple of daughters, a pile of grandkids. I think he's going to have plenty of things to do.
And he doesn't have to fly around the world all the time, which is what's really kept him going the last few years.
Yep, definitely. And we're seeing the same thing on the manufacturing level that y'all are seeing at the engineering level. We don't have as many people for the amount of work we're doing.
Yep.
So, you know, some of it is improved by efficiency, some of it's improved by beating the dog a little harder. But yeah, you know, there don't seem to be enough hours in the day like there used to be.
Speaking of the MFETs, I'm going to ask you a question about them, which is, I think, going to hinge a good part of our discussion. But I noticed that Harold had his hand up and he wanted to jump in early today. So, Harold, what's on your mind?
First off, there was talk about finding problems at the transmitter sites. When the FCC was first considering allowing remote control of broadcast transmitters, one of the arguments raised against it is you have to be able to smell the problem. So you can't do that with remote metering. And then as far as something new in RF, I'm searching for a note I have here on a new Elecraft amateur radio transmitter that's using the Con envelope extraction and reinsertion technique from the 1950s, which I thought was pretty clever.
Has your new cable company internet given you better bandwidth?
Yeah, we're doing T-Mobile now, and yeah, it's doing fine. I don't remember. I think it's like 150 megabits per second or something at
Maybe
$30 a month.
Maybe we can see the camera.
The camera's across the room and not plugged in.
All right. Well, Jeff, the Nautel was not the first. The MFET was not the first Nautel transmitter, but it was one of the earliest solid state transmitters in the whole industry, really.
So the MFET 10, which we shipped for the first time in January 1982, was the first 10 kilowatt solid state AM. Back as far as 73, we built a 50-watt version of a navigational beacon on the AM band for the CBC's northern stations. A little bit before that, we had built a 2 kilowatt for Cook Islands, New Zealand. So yeah, and shoot,
I may have a copy of a picture of the Nautel 2 coming, but I've never seen one of that first transmitter.
so the 50-watt, the NTB 200, I've still got a manual for that somewhere. I've never seen the 2 kilowatt either. So if you get a picture of that, send me an email. I'd like to see it too.
Okay. So here's the question.
Yeah.
With a tube transmitter, tubes would, wear out, go down, and other parts would be affected by the heat. Solid state, there's no tubes, reasonably less heat. So at what point does a station decide, or should a station decide, to replace a solid state transmitter?
So, and it's funny because, and I'll give you the list you got because I got it up on the screen. So we'll skip getting ready for winter, but you had maintenance protocols as transmitters age and deciding when to replace solid state transmitters, followed by having a relationship with your manufacturer / sales / support. And all three of them kind of tie together. But when on a solid state rig, you're still going to have fans, you're still going to have electrolytics, and one manufacturer to another, the quantities will vary. The components themselves, whether they use 85 degrees, 105 or 125 degree rated components, so some will be a little different than others. But like everybody, as an example, everybody with a DX series transmitter is familiar with the sloshing caps, and it's a scheduled maintenance item. When the thing gets a little spongy, it's time to swap out the caps. And it's good for another 10, 15 years. They work great. So, that is not a big, I won't say it's not a big issue, but like on an AM solid state, you've got a bunch of PAs. If you start to see the failure rate increasing, and you should obviously be tracking that stuff, then it's going to be one of two things. Something changed at the site or something's changed in the transmitter. And so that's when you start to look into it and make the call. But it really, really requires, like I said earlier, where a tube could get hit by lightning, lose a month off the life, and you'd never notice. With the solid state, you really need to be tracking failures. And I know we track them as best we're able, but all I can tell you is that this transmitter lost APA. Unless you told me which position it was in, then I've got no knowledge. So that's the kind of thing you want to track is failure rates more than anything. Like I said, a failure as a rule isn't going to take you off air, but yeah, just pay attention to that. If you start to see it going up, anytime anything changes at a transmitter site, you should be asking why.
So if you in your travels meet somebody still running an AMFET, you're not going to try to sell them a new transmitter?
If they want one, I'll quote them one, but not, I mean, for the most part, on the modulators on the old AMFETs, the big PDM filter cap, they're not PDM filter caps, they're 70-volt filter caps. The PDM filter on that was a notch. But the 70-volt filter caps were an oil-filled device that we've had to create this little Rube Goldberg assembly with plastic capacitors. If I started to see those or the big electrolytics on the modulators going south, I'd probably start to budget a new one. I tell people, I mean, the thing I tell people is there are not too many people using a 40-year-old car for their daily driver. So why would you trust the primary revenue generator for your station to a 40-year-old transmitter, no matter whose logo's on it?
Well, that is the question.
So, yeah.
Or as Brian says, the replacement needs happen when components become unobtainium.
Right. The challenge is when the component becomes unobtainium and it's blown, now you're sitting there waiting. You're at the mercy of how fast can somebody get you something. So yeah, no, Dave says I'm echoey. I don't know which mic I'm using today. Let's take a peek here. That's why it's got me on the wrong. Just bear with me.
Sound good here?
How does that one work?
Much better.
There we go. I was on my headset earlier today and I forgot to switch back to the USB microphone. So my handy dandy fancy $50 Amazon purchase.
Mm.
But yeah, like I said, most people, the time you start budgeting for a replacement of anything, whether it's a microphone or an antenna or anything in between, should be the day you buy the one you're using. And at that point, everything, transmitters, I tell people, budget for 15 years, hope for 20. And you might get 30 or 40 out of it, and that's bonus. But the best time to replace a box is while it's still running, not when the flames are coming out.
Yep, yep. Well, compare the MFET 1 or 5 to a VX 1 or 5.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's AM versus FM, so kind of
Oh, I'm
different in
sorry.
that
Never mind. Erase that.
MFET 1 or 5 to a J1000 or an NX5
Yes.
with respect to lifespan.
Lifespan, operation, any improvements that the station would benefit from. Obviously, you could do
Obviously,
MDC.
or if there were no improvements, we wouldn't have designed a new box. I mean, it makes no sense to make something that's exactly the same. Like example, and I'll take the J1000 out of the picture because that's halfway between the MFET and the NX, insofar it's a 25-year-old design. But so if you look at the NX, you've got MDCL built in, which at 1 kilowatt doesn't mean squat, but at 5 or 10 and up, it certainly does if you're in an area where the power bill hurts. You've got AM stereo built in with the NX if you're so inclined. The ability to upgrade to HD if you want to. That's a whole different discussion whether there's value to it. But again, the features are there. You've got the built-in network analyzer, so you've got the ability to dynamically see exactly what your load looks like. And I mean, that's kind of huge in my opinion. But, I'm the guy wearing the Smith Chart t-shirt, so there you go.
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, I mean, definitely the features improve day to day. I mean, my 1982 Charger was nothing like my 2017 Silverado, and neither of those were anything near like my 53 International Harvester.
But AM
Although
is,
that International was a heck of a truck, but that's a whole different discussion.
AM is a simple thing, though. So
Mhm.
it's not like there's lots of features that you can add.
With respect to what? I mean, AMHD, you've got the ability with AMHD now to incorporate album art. You've got the ability to incorporate dashboard presence and audio quality near FM, not as good as, depending on how you process it, which is, again, a whole different discussion. And I know Rich and I have had this discussion many, 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 many times because the number of people processing it poorly by far outweigh the ones processing it well.
So does that AM
So,
stereo involve the con system, which I believe is still legal, right?
CQuam is what we're using
Not
on everything.
Sequam, Leonard Quam.
No, I know I know Leonard very well. He used to call me once a month to bitch about the state of the industry. But again, he was an awesome person and a brilliant engineer, but not so great on the social aspect of the business, if you will.
Well, I can identify with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do they say? You're talking to an extroverted internet or engineer when he's staring at your shoes.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so yeah, the features we can add change a lot. The ability to monitor, the ability to control remotely is improved dramatically. Lifespan wise, I mean, it's still got components in it. And these days, the OEMs, the component manufacturers, if you can get one to commit to a 5-year lifespan on any device, you're doing well. So at that point, you build everything with the thought of what are we going to replace it with? I mean, we've had situations, not even recently, going back to the M50 and before, the FM Exciter from the 90s. But going back to then, I mean, there were, let's see, that M50 was 5 years in development. By the time the first units hit production, we'd already had three obsolete components before the first one shipped. So
Goodness.
it's just state of the business. It is what it is.
All right. Well, then too, as we come into the newer transfer, well, would you run MCDL on an MFIT?
You can't.
Okay.
No, I mean, it will not do it. We've never even considered upgrading it for it. I have a sneaking suspicion if you tried, it would probably be catastrophic. I mean, it'd be highly entertaining, but only for a short period of time.
So that's
So
a good selling point, especially for a 10 or 25 or 50.
it is, and I mean, it depends. Like I give you an example. I put a 50 kilowatt in the southeast not too long ago, and I was pumping up the MDCL to their engineer, and he goes, "Look, at the rate we pay for power, I'm not giving up that even a fraction of my fringe coverage." So, it depends.
Yeah.
And you've heard me say this here so many times, but it is 100% situational. I mean, if I had a 50 kilowatt in a fairly large market that was surrounded 100% by cornfields or mountains, say like Denver or shoot, anywhere, any of the cities in Iowa, Nebraska even, then yeah, I'd run MDCL on it. And I mean, I wouldn't worry if three cows and two tractors weren't able to pick up the signal. But it really depends on what you're trying to cover and who you're marketing to. So yeah, if you can drop your power bill by 40%, that doesn't suck.
I didn't know you were prejudiced against farmers.
I are one. I were one. I grew up as one. So
They plow their fields,
but
can't hear.
what going to say more and more, depending on where you are. I mean, you can GPS control a lot of the farm equipment these days too. So a lot of it can almost be self-driving. It's close.
That's true. That's true.
Now, whether that's an improvement or not, again, is a whole different discussion. But yeah, I mean, technology has developed, the lifespans have decreased as the features have increased, almost in direct proportion, in my opinion. I mean, if you ask me what the lifespan of an MFET transmitter is, the answer is I don't know. The first one we built is still on the air, doing 10 kilowatts at its fourth site in, think that one might be in Brazil now. It started out in Antigonish and then it was in North Carolina, and I'm not sure where it went after that. So, you can get a lot of use out of them. Should you? That's a whole different discussion. And I mean, it's going to come down to your budget, the value of the product, et cetera, and so on. I mean, I'm not advocating everybody go out and buy a new transmitter tomorrow. I mean, my bank account would love the hell out of that, but it's just not practical. And if everybody ordered one tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to ship them anyway because that's way too much business all at once. So yeah, it staggers out. Um, I do recommend, though, that everybody tasked with engineering a station should absolutely have a spreadsheet or a list on whether it's a Word document or even a handwritten list, I don't care, of every major component or every component in their chain over a certain dollar value, and that'll vary from one station to another. And you should have, when did we buy this? How long can we expect to get out of it? And what will it cost to replace it? Because if you don't, how do you make the business case how do you keep your business going?
True.
Sounds like CapEx and OpEx to me.
It absolutely is. It absolutely 100% is. And so many people just see to the pants that stuff even today. And it is scary.
Now, what
And I
station?
mean, go ahead.
I'm curious, what station in Agonish? Someone I must have missed.
That would have been I want to say CKFX. Yeah, Saint FX is the Antigonish. Now you're going to make me look it up. And they flipped to FM since, so it wouldn't matter. But let's see. See, it might have been CHFX too.
I have relatives in Cape Breton.
So you're asking me to dig up memories from 30 odd years ago. You know what? It'd be easier if I just search Antigonish because there's not that many radio stations in Antigonish. I just like saying it because it's CJFX. I was pretty close.
Mhm.
So yeah, CJFX had MFET 10 serial number 1. They had the first 25 kilowatt built in our Halifax plant. They've currently got one of the first FM 3.5s, and they've got Q20 serial number 3. So they're, of course, local stations get to be our guinea pigs for a lot of things.
Well, that means that they have a good relationship with you as the manufacturer and the salesman. And that's something that takes some effort, doesn't it?
Well, it's like everything else. And I mean, anybody who follows the broadcasting club on Facebook would have seen, Paul Berzis and Gates Air, or from Gates Air and I had a conversation yesterday. I mean, it's a small industry. We all know each other. Most of us are friends with each other. And yeah, absolutely. For every product you buy, you should have a relationship with your manufacturer, whether it's me, Paul, whether it's Joe from BE, whoever, and develop that relationship a little. I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot. And remember, like, and I'll take me for example, I've got roughly 9,000 stations in my coverage area. So I'm going to rely a lot on folks like Mary or my other resellers to go out and do stuff. And I will get out there as much as I can, and I'll do stuff like this as much as I can. But 9,000 stations, I'm not visiting 9,000 stations in a year because my wife would divorce me. Um, of course, then again, the less I'm at home, maybe the more I'm doing her a favor. Who knows? But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of thing, just reach out now and again. If I've got folks call me all the time, be like, look, this isn't a sales opportunity, but I've got this, and for insurance, I want to know what it would cost to replace it. Or, hey, how long can I get out of this? And, for the most part, most of us are just going to tell you the truth on it. We're not going to try to turn it into a sale every time. I mean, I
One thing
told
I've
somebody,
discovered is
yeah,
that you have so many editions of some of the machines. I think the VS 300 has something on the order of 12 generations. And
ish, yeah. I mean, it's got 2 bootloaders, 4 hardware platforms, and about 7 software iterations, all of which are interchangeable. So could be a little more than that. But yeah,
so finding the right manual means that you need to have a discussion with someone at Nortel, and
sometimes.
you need to make sure you have all the updates.
Yeah, and that's more for with the software-based stuff, and I've said this over and over and over. I mean, and you've hounded me for the photo, and I never did find it, although I did actually look one day. But I've walked into sites going back in the old days where we used to ship out, you'd get a manila envelope with a plastic Ziploc bag with a sheet of paper and a half a dozen components in it. And the sheet of paper said, put this here, put that there, cut this track, and that'll keep you from blowing up because of this. And everybody just, for the most part, everybody just did the field mods as they got them. I have walked into sites, and I was telling Barry about one in particular where I saw this nice little 8.5 by 11-inch cardboard box, little file folder box, neatly filled full of little plastic envelopes with every field mod we'd ever sent them. It's like they thought that maybe if I put it in a box in the same room as the transmitter, that would count as installing it. Um, and I say the same thing with software. And I know I've had this discussion here before, but when you get a software update, look at the release notes because those are very much going to tell you, in most cases, what we changed. And if it's like an update to SNMP and you don't use SNMP, well, okay, skip that update, whatever, you don't need it. But if it says this will stop your transmitter from blowing up because, might be a really good idea to install that update.
Hey,
So
Jeff,
that's the kind of thing.
the
Yeah.
country and western song says, "How can I miss you if you never leave?"
Yeah. Well, so the funny thing, up here, depending on the year, December, January, February, it can be a little iffy whether I can get to the airport or not. So I tend not to travel those months.
Well, I was always
Usually,
bragging about my lifetime titanium platinum Marriott status, and Patty
see,
would
I'm not a
say that's something to really be proud of, Bub.
Yep, and around about the end of February, when the Michigan show is getting ready to go off in Lansing and Grand Rapids, that's about the time Dawn will look at me and look at her watch and look at me and go, "Isn't it about time you went somewhere?"
Hmm.
So I don't know where I'm going to go when I retire. I'm probably going to have to build a workshop in the backyard that I can disappear to for days on end.
It's called a cave, a man
Hmm.
cave. That's where I'm
Well,
at right now.
so the whole
Right.
idea really, and I'm trying to suggest that those folks that come to a station and this is the first time they've worked with a particular transmitter, or even if they have had experience, they need to find out which of these service messages have been looked at and the condition of the transmitter. And it's
Yep.
important to know which generation so you have the right manual.
Right. And I mean, the things that you can do, again, reach out to the manufacturer. We can tell you on hardware any field mod that we've ever shipped out. So if I've sent a specific field mod to that station, I can tell you it was sent. I cannot tell you it was installed unless I happen to be there while it was installed, in which case there will be a note in our system. But yeah, those are the ones where you just you got to take it on faith. And like I said, I walked into that site in Manitoba where there was this nice little box full of every field mod we'd ever sent. None of them had been installed. And I don't know that it all comes back to the whole documentation and keeping the list of what you're going to replace. And Chuck made the good point with CapEx versus OpEx because, you know, you need to speak manager, you need to speak accounting a little bit. The days of being able to just go to the transmitter site and fix stuff and somebody else was paying attention to what needed to be replaced when, those are almost gone. I mean, somebody's got to be doing it, but who?
That's a good point. And realistically, as a transmitter, so I will say transmitter operates for 5, 10 years and there's no problems. Some engineers just get bored and they forget the need to keep on top of the various parameters.
Well, and again, it comes back to maintenance. I'm working on I call it my September paper because in Mississippi, Columbus, Atlanta, and Wisconsin, and in Wabi and Calgary after that, my topic for this month is hardening the transmitter site. And let's see if I can find that real quick. I'll slash the checklist up there, but it was just that's kind of how I approached it was what are the things that need to be remembered, I guess, for lack of a better word, because again, we're all doing so much with so little. Oh, that's sweet. I'd like to say that's the worst I've ever seen for
That
AC,
solved
but
that
I'd
problem.
be.
I wonder if they put some nails and sheet metal screws in those fuse receptacles too. That'll work also.
Yeah.
Harold, what's going on?
Oh, on the fuse holder thing, when you're at NAB, we had a data sheet for the 3AGNB, which was a no-blow fuse. It was a quarter-inch piece of aluminum you could put in the fuse holder.
No blow.
Testimonial from the fire chief saying the building burned down, but the fuse was still good. See, there was on keeping track of revisions on equipment. In the equipment that I designed, I put a resistor that changed with version on each module, and then the analog to digital converter on the microcontroller that was running the web interface could read those and tell you, which version of this module you had and which version of that module. And then there was also a link to the manual at the company's website. So ideally, everything moved in sync.
Ideally.
And the maintenance program that you talk about all the time, Jeff, is so important because things slowly loosen, shall we say?
Hmm.
You might think that this is an example.
And I mean, it's the same as why I beat the drum. And I mean, like I said, I should be on commission for FLIR, but the infrared or the rather the thermal cameras,
Right.
I mean, those things are just invaluable for preventing stuff like this, assuming you've got a scheduled visit to go to the transmitter site here and there. So yeah, let's see. Barry, can I grab a quick share for a second?
Go right ahead, sir.
All right, which monitor there? We'll go with that monitor and see if it works.
It does.
Yeah. So this is what I'm targeting as my bullet points. These are the topics I want to hit when talking about site hardening or just site assessments in general. I mean, these are the kind of things that if I walk into a site for the first time that I want to know about. So, obviously there's going to be about an hour's worth of discussion expanding on each of those topics, but what am I missing that's critical?
Ferrites.
That's part of grounding and lightning protection already covered.
I don't see it there.
Oh, you don't have, no, you won't. That'll be the expansion.
It's not labeled Welton Donuts. That's
It's not start. I'm still gonna get, yeah. If I was younger and dumber, I would probably make the argument to get a ferrite tattoo around my wrist just to look so good. Even I've got them, but no.
absolutely.
Did you hear what Bill Gates said this week? That handhelds are going away. It's going to be body tattoos. So
I will.
you're right there already.
Well, and I mean, even now, I mean, you can get hearing aids as an example that will hook up to your cell phone and automatically take and answer calls. I mean, it's a short step from being able to miniaturize all the cell phone electronics and put them directly into the hearing aid. At that point, you Bluetooth connect them to some kind of smart wearable glasses or something, and yeah, your cell phone and your computer all become part of your body almost. So, is that going to happen in my lifespan? God, I hope not. But you never know.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
Yeah. And I think that more than anything is, I mean, one of the discussions I probably have more than anything for somebody looking at a new box. I mean, my first question is, do you want HD, no HD ever, or not right now, but I'd like to leave the door open? And most manufacturers can provide options for all three scenarios. I got some customers that swear up and down, nope, never gonna have HD, don't care, just save money. Can do. And, I'm not here to push anybody toward one solution or the other. They know their business better than I do. I'm just here to provide options. So, yeah, again, it comes back to the manufacturer relationship. Find somebody you can have a conversation with who will give you your options and not try to push you into one or the other unless you're obviously doing something that doesn't make sense. Like had a guy wanted the singing and dancing and biggest of everything, and it's like that's 4 times as much transmitter as you need for what you're trying to accomplish. This would fit better and cost a lot less. So, sometimes the solution is to sell them something a little smaller than what they really think they want.
That's the balance between transmitter and antenna. I noticed that your banner behind you is missing a couple of series of transmitters.
That one doesn't have VX on it.
I was going to say the blue fronts aren't there.
Yeah. Well, remember that when COVID hit, we started doing the TTTs, and I'd like to get back to them, but I've been on the road too much to do that recently. But when we started doing the TTTs, um, I basically my office in the house became Studio Central for those. So I've got lighting systems and 3 different cameras, and it's not hooked up at the moment. Where is it? somewhere over here. Anyway, well, there it is. Yeah, and I mean, I've got a Stream Deck that I use as a video switcher and jump around. These are the coolest little things, by the way. Anybody used the Stream Deck? Anybody else? Probably more than I have. They are the slickest little thing because you can program. This one is only a 3x5 matrix, so 15 buttons. But you can program each button for a different function. You can use it to switch video feeds. I interface it with OBS Studio and use it to switch the USB backlighting in my office. So I can change the lighting, switch cameras, and do it all with this little console that's sitting by my hand. So anyway, more toys. And that's something else that updates on a very regular basis. But Stream Deck pushes the updates to anybody who subscribes. So that's pretty cool.
So you have the VX now, and
Yeah.
the GV and the NT, and
NT was the television transmitter. We haven't built that in
NV.
10 years. NV. Okay, the original NV or the NVLT.
Yes.
Because they're different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, so currently we've got GV, NVLT for VS and VX for FM, because the VS, if you want low power HD, that's what you've got to go with. The VX doesn't do HD at all. And then NX, XR for single phase and J1000. And here's another discussion. And again, manufacturer relationship. If a person called me up and asked for a single phase AM transmitter at 5 kilowatts, that's an XR6. But I would gently suggest, unless they really have an issue with solid state phase converters, that a NX5 and a solid state phase converter would be a better solution, just as efficient, actually a little more efficient, a little less expensive. So, again, situational. Some people really, really, really don't like phase converters. So I've got probably a dozen of them out there. Phase Technologies is who we use out of South Dakota. And I mean, they've been rugged as anything, but different folks, different strokes. So my job's to work with you, not to fight you.
Well, that's the reason I brought up this whole business about building and keeping a relationship with your rep and the folks that you deal with, because you're going to need help at some point, and you want somebody that's not going to take your message and get back to you next week.
I had a guy who sent me an email asking who his rep was a while ago, and I said, "Oh, yeah, well, I guess that means I'm not doing my job because that would be me." And he goes, "I never put two and two together. I met you at this event and didn't realize." And it's like, so yeah, that relationship makes it easier. And I mean, I've got customers I don't talk to more than once every 3 or 4 years, if that. So, but yeah, just knowing who to reach out to for whatever manufacturer you deal with is key. And that'll change. Like right now, Ted Nahill retired from Nautel in end of October, so 1st November 2023. And I still get maybe one or two emails a month through his email. So, we don't keep in touch on a regular basis because there's so many of us doing so much, or so few of us doing so much. You haven't got time to, I expect nobody in here calls every manufacturer for every product they've got, assuming that company still exists on any kind of scheduled basis, because who's got time for that?
So is this an
But
invitation for folks to send you an email once in a while?
oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Send me a picture of your cat or something. Shoot, I'll post it on Facebook. I did last night. But
Do you have any
my
stations or groups that you find do like QBRs with you typically, or no?
QBRs.
Like
Don't know
quarterly
the
business reviews as far as kind of where they're at, where you're at, and what kind of future goals are?
We have one or two.
Assuming no.
Yeah, we do have a few.
Okay.
It depends. And again, remembering that we deal with big groups down to little mom and pops. I've got some of my smaller customers pay a lot more attention to calling me. Now, that might not be a quarterly review. They might call me every year or 2 years and say, so here's what we've got, and here's what we'd like to do. Does that make sense? And, I can speak to the transmitter side. Obviously, I can't speak at all to, studio side. Well, I can, but not well. So yeah, I mean that's where a relationship with a vendor like Mary or the folks at BSW, BGS, any of the sorry Mary, I'm going to mention everybody. Got to be fair here, but yeah, having a good relationship with somebody who's familiar with everything from the mic to the top of the tower, and I mean the Cothans over at SCMS, there's so many out there that can do it, but whoever you work with, that's the kind of thing. Yeah, that's a valid discussion and it should be had. Because I can
I'll
tell
add
you,
something here.
uh-oh, I lit the
Since you
fuse.
mentioned, I've always told my customers that you need to have two vendors that you have a relationship with if you're like a reseller, because there are times that I can't help them and you need to have a relationship with somebody else because that relationship does count.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and that's it. And I mean, there'll be times I've had situations and I've had competitors who have referred customers to me. If I can't do something like as an example, if you came to me and you wanted to provide a means of getting data from point A to point B, I would probably send you to Tony with Interplex, or Ted with 2W or somebody. But I'm going to go through my Rolodex and talk to the folks that I have a relationship with. So again, it's a small business. We all know each other to some degree or another. What was that? I told you earlier, Wendell's retiring at the end of the month, and we've got Wendell's replacement, Tracy, just started a week ago. And I think we've got her drinking from the fire hose as she's trying to learn everything there is to learn in virtually no time at all. Um, but I said this is a very incestuous business, and you have to be careful because the ass you're kicking today may be the one you're kissing tomorrow. And you know, I probably should have waited till Barry turned the recording off for you for going with that one. But there you go. I've used the line before, and it's true. I mean, everybody in here has either worked for, with, or against almost everybody else at one point or another.
maybe the company you're working for tomorrow.
Might be, might be.
So I'm going to take that and I'm going to move on to a what seems like a big statement, scandalous statement. And the point is that you don't want the cheapest price on what you're buying.
So that and everything comes back to some degree to you get what you pay for. Now, there are some cases where what you're paying will be overinflated because you're buying a name and there might be something else that's as good for what you need. So it's a judgment call in some cases. There are going to be times, and I've had situations where I've sent customer somewhere else because we got talking, they told me what their budget was, and I was like, I just don't have a solution that will fit into that. In the budget you've got, you're not going to get our level of quality, but here's what I'm familiar with that's pretty close. And that's a conversation. Again, it comes down to the relationships. Um, Cheapest depends on the situation. Like, and I'll pick universities, for example. Universities, a lot of times, they'll decide what they want, whether it's a Gates Air, whether it's a Nautel, whether it's a Rode, whatever. And obviously, I'm focused on transmitters. It's what I know. But they'll figure out what they want and they'll write a bid spec that's oriented pretty carefully toward that. And then half a dozen vendors will vie amongst themselves. And cheapest in that case, absolutely. Sure, get the best price you can get. But remember too that the more we cut the price, the less we're going to be inclined to, oh, you forgot to add this and you really needed that. Yeah, we can throw that in. So that happens on a regular basis too. So you have to be pretty careful with it.
So if I'm
Um,
going to buy a transmitter, I can call Jeff or I can call Mary. And there's a difference, isn't
yeah,
there?
The difference is Mary's a lot friendlier than I am. Yeah, Mary will take the time to deal with you, and I'll be like, "Yeah, what do you want?"
She's better
But
looking than you too.
I wasn't going to say that, but you're not wrong. But yeah, I mean like, and I can't speak to every vendor obviously because I don't know. The ones we have a relationship with, typically, except for the very few customers that have a direct relationship already set up, for the most part, our pricing will be about the same whether you buy direct or buy through a vendor. So whoever you've got the best relationship, go ahead. And I mean, be brutally honest, I don't care. I get paid either way. So, I'm just here to make it. I told somebody my job isn't to sell notch transmitters, it's to make it easier for customers to buy them. And if that's helping Mary do the job, then that's what I'm going to do. So again,
I think it
one,
depends on the circumstances. Like,
yeah,
if you've got a
yeah,
customer that's doing more than just a transmitter, they want line and antenna and, maybe
and
a
I
couple
can't,
studio products, it just makes sense to go through a dealer that you can get
right.
a whole package. So I think
Yeah,
it just
and
depends on the circumstance.
exactly. And I can quote that stuff. I really don't like to because number one, my commission on it is a fraction of what it is on transmitters, so I'm not making any money.
Well, and
And
your
number
pricing's
two,
probably not in line either
we don't buy the
because you don't
volume that
buy
you
as
guys
much.
buy. Right.
Yeah.
So definitely there's going to be situations, and again, the resellers for the most part, like the broadcast depots, BGS, BSW, pick your favorite, are going to get overall from mic to antenna a better overall level of discounts. You could go to each manufacturer yourself. It's like building a house. Do you want to be your own general contractor or do you want to hire somebody that knows all the subs and gets it done for you?
Harold mentions a high price can be perceived value, whether it's real
Hmm.
value or not.
Oh, absolutely, 100% of the time. I mean, our running joke is the only difference between TV and radio is a zero. It's the same damn product. It's just you charge a higher price because it's television and they perceive the higher price as being necessary. So, and that's not 100% true. There is a little more to it than that, but more and more as HD adds AM and FM and pictures, that gap is narrowing,
Well, and as a
and
buyer, you want to be a little bit educated anyway. I mean, like, I'll give an example that happened many years ago. I won't name who the other company was, but I had a customer come to me. They wanted to buy an ERI antenna and they wanted radomes on it. And he came back and he said, you're $4,000 higher than the competition. I said, there's no way. So I said, just send me the quote, block out the numbers. I don't care about the numbers. So I look at the quote and I'm like, there's no radomes on it.
mm-hmm,
And he's like, well, I told him I wanted radomes. I said, I'm telling you, there's no radomes on this quote. So as a buyer, you kind of have to be educated too.
yeah. And I mean, I had a situation years ago where somebody had asked for a transmitter quote and they wanted a full system. And like I said, I can quote an antenna. I don't like to. But I called two of the antenna companies and it was a directional. So I said what I needed, showed them the pattern, said, what'll the gain be? And they both said 5.1. And I went to a third antenna company and they said 6.9 would be the gain. Well, that impacts the transmitter power required. It was the difference between a 40 kilowatt and a 30 kilowatt, which is a big chunk of change. So I went back to the first two and said, how sure are you? And one of them said, look, I actually ran it up and modeled it. He goes, I'm very sure 5.1 is the gain. And one manufacturer to the other, I mean, a rototiller style design, a ring stub design doesn't change a lot no matter whose logo's on the front. So I quoted the 5.1 gain antenna with the 40 kilowatt transmitter, and we lost to the company that went with a 30 kilowatt transmitter and the other antenna, and son of a gun if it's have had issues. So yeah, you got to caveat emptor applies sometimes too. You got to be careful if two people tell you one thing and one person tells you something totally different, then it's time to do a little fact checking. And I would ask you to do that to me too. If I tell you something that sounds like I'm blowing smoke up my ass, then absolutely call me on it.
Anyone have any questions for Jeff about
thoughts, criticisms, concerns? Have you lost your mind, you lunatic?
Transmitter maintenance, purchasing. What do you do with the transmitter when it's out? Do you send it off to the recycler?
And
Have you had customers with issues of the having to reset the AUI all the time?
yep, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Especially
I've
on
got one,
VS.
the 30 that I've got up north, when I go to take readings every day and I go to get into the AUI, the transmitter doesn't want to respond.
So
So
reach
I've
out,
got it set up through my remote control that I can give the contact closure to
do a force
reset.
AUI reset. So
Yep.
two things. Number one, especially on the VS and the NV lights, the AUI or the transmitter is running an ARM processor, and the AUI is running that processor at the limit. So absolutely, that's an issue. The hope is that with the progressive web app that we're currently testing on VS, that we'll be able to offload enough of the math out of the processor to bring that load down so the lockups go away with the new AUI. And we've had this discussion a zillion times, so I'm not even going to turn
Right.
myself into a liar today. However, the other thing you can do is reach out to support, and Harold caught it right away in the comments. The AUI has a watchdog. The default is that the watchdog only looks for specific types of crashes, but you can go into the Linux kernel and configure it to fire the watchdog to force a host reset to every 24 hours, at which point the thing automatically will reboot the AUI once a day for you. So theoretically, when you go to log in, it should be just fine.
Okay. I'll get a hold of support and talk
Yeah,
to them
give them a
about it.
holler, Mark. I think I've got the directions for it somewhere in my email, but they'll know exactly where to look for it.
Okay. Yeah,
Isn't there a
because
way you could just set up a cron for that particular thing to run without rebooting the whole process? Like maybe kill that process itself without the whole application itself?
Probably, I don't know. And again, I'm not a software guy. I mean, I got dragged into software kicking and screaming because it seems like everything's so, I don't know the answer.
I'll
A
mute
lot
myself
of it,
then.
the watchdog does handle, but I don't know what exactly is going on in this case.
okay, well, I just wanted to kind of be reassured that it wasn't something that just all of a sudden popped up out of nowhere and
It's not
and
just
that
a you
others were
thing.
having the same issue.
Right.
I figured
Now,
out how you can
it-
reset the AUI, like I said, with the contact closure,
Yep.
and that works pretty well. I mean, I can get into the remote and I can reset it, but it's just
Right.
an extra
It'd be
step
nice
that I
not
have
to
to go
have to.
through.
Right.
But
And
I'll call support and talk to those guys.
yeah,
Hey, Grady, I
there's
see your hand.
Oh, it's not important. I was just waiting for after this conversation. I don't want to
Okay,
stop this conversation.
Oh, yeah,
no,
I'm
give me
done.
one more quick second. I'm not.
Oh.
But yeah, so set it up for the auto reboot. That will help that a lot. Say if we ever get the new AUI before I retire, and if they don't, they'll do it after, whatever. But hopefully that will resolve a lot of it. And that's the kind of thing, if you have an issue like that, anybody at all on any of our boxes, and it's some like just little irritating thing, make sure we know about it, because for every problem, somebody's going to be the first to report it. And the faster we know, the faster we can start looking at solution. Okay, Grady, go.
I'm really glad that having respect for this process served your needs, Jeff, because that was really important information for you to get out there in the very last snippet. I want to go back to the third shoe falling with that two different manufacturers of antennas reporting two different gains for supposedly the same installation. I know a radio station that operated for well over a year at less than full power because they had exactly that same situation, and it turned out that the gain of their antenna was not as much as it needed to be, and they ended up having to turn their TPO up. So I'm wondering, when the third shoe fell, do you know whether or not the antenna that they received ended up being the gain it needed to be and the system was set up right?
No, it was about 5.1, the way everybody else said it would be.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was the issue. The antenna gain wasn't where it needed to be. And again, this is the kind of situation where it's best, you may only get a quote or and place an order on one manufacturer, but definitely second guess almost everything. Like as a rule, we all know that for a full bay antenna spacing or full bay spacing, your gain is going to be nominally half the bay count. So 4 bay full wave's got a nominal gain of 2. It's 1.98, but who's counting? So you can do that math pretty quickly and have a ballpark where it should be. Directionals get a little snaky, so always reach out to 2 or 3 manufacturers. I mean, I know like Sean at Shively will map that stuff in software. ERI, they might have to do a little more math, but they'll do it too. Dielectric, Jampro, they all have their own way of doing it. But the numbers, for the most part, for any specific pattern and bay count are going to be in the ballpark. One might be a little higher, one might be a little lower, but in the same range, not 20% different. So, yeah, that's the kind of thing that definitely it never hurts to, what do they say, trust but verify? I call it second opinion. I mean, if I get a quote on anything, I'm getting 2 or 3 quotes.
Thank you.
Sure. Then, I mean, I tell people to do the same thing with me. Price check me all 6 ways from sideways. Now, I will not go below a certain level, and I'm not going to undercut somebody else just to get a sale. If I've got a specific margin that keeps 250 people employed, and that's our bottom line. So, but it never hurts to ask here and there, and
Are you
if I can do more,
saying
I'll do it. Yeah.
are you saying then that Mary can undercut you?
In a lot of cases, absolutely she can. Yep. And it doesn't hurt my feelings a bit because, again, I get paid either way. But our dealer pricing is set such that they have the flexibility to offer competitive pricing against a direct quote. And it's done on purpose.
Good to know.
Yeah. That's why I said earlier, absolutely get a quote from Mary, and she can help you out with the system stuff way better than I can. And she'll be smiling, be friendly about it, where I'll just start getting cranky after a while.
Adams, read your
And she's definitely better looking than you.
Yeah, I think we've already discussed that. Thanks.
Okay, just
Careful now.
reinforcing it.
Jeff Adams has gone to sleep in his chair.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I'm about there too. And my Tinker Toy has decided it doesn't like my face anymore, so it no longer works for the Face ID.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Oh, there it goes. But if I hold it down here so it's looking up my nose, it's like, oh, that's you.
We should
Anyway,
probably one day we should just probably talk about what apps you have on your phone.
depends which phone.
Well, he made the comment earlier about sending him a picture of your cat or something, so I sent him a picture of my cat.
I got that, and
That's the Shack Cat, Shadow the Shack Cat.
Shadow is pretty awesome. And so yesterday I was posting pictures on Facebook because Real Boss for her entire life has wanted a ginger or an orange kitten. And so that's Penelope, the transmitter queen.
Nah.
But,
Oh, nice.
So anyway, that's yep. She is definitely the pillow princess in the living room. So, all right. Well, I think, Barry, we're pushing 10 after the top of the hour. Folks got other things to do than listen to me ramble on.
Well, we always enjoy listening to you. And as I say, let's consider next time maybe some apps or some maintenance protocol with pictures that we
Yeah.
can enjoy.
Right. And I mean, so the funny thing, more than the apps themselves, the one thing I realized, and I do it more on, well, I do it on both phones. I just do it a little differently. But like I organize everything into folders.
Hmm.
So I've got like a folder for finance, one for entertainment, and I do them by category, one for health, one for home, et cetera, and so on. On the work one, I've got one for business apps, one for travel apps, transmitter apps, stuff like that. So yeah, that the organization was probably the bigger thing than the actual apps themselves. And now if I download an app, the first thing I want to know is what folder am I going to put this in so I can find it later. That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got
but
4 or 5 of these things I can never find, and I've got 10 or 12 that I don't ever use.
Yep. So there's one that I will throw out to everybody, and you can copy me and Barry on it equally, and we'll make it next month's discussion. But what broadcast or electronics or just apps in general, like one of the ones that I like most, that I don't use it really so much for broadcast, although I could, but I've got a Compass app, and it's literally called Compass, but it gives you a proper bubble compass. And once it's calibrated, it is pretty darned accurate. And I mean, I use it for figuring out the base of my roof line for solar panel efficiency.
I've
But
heard some
but
people
yeah,
have complained that that app does not work reliably.
depends which one. There are about 85 different compass apps. Some are better than others. This one, like I say, it can be calibrated and it does line up almost exactly with my Silva engineering compass, which is actually this one that my father left me a million years ago. So, and I could shoot a transit with this thing if I had to, but I wouldn't be very good at it because I don't know what I'm doing.
We could also talk about what kind of phone cases you have, like mine.
Yep.
I ran across it on the internet the other day. I thought it was kind of neat. So
Well, and like I mean, the IT folks gave me this rubberized case for the iPhone, and seems to work well because even with some occasionally high velocity propulsion across the room when it's frustrated me, it's still working. I'm an
well,
OtterBox kind of guy for mine, but I like the little tripod so I can lean the thing down on a table and have video running or whatever.
mhm,
So, yep, different folks, again, different strokes.
yeah.
So there you go, Barry. I think next month's topic will be cell phones, tools or tribulations.
Good idea. I'll write that down.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Ely, Minnesota has they're getting a new transmitter coming up, and so they've got a contest going on. Help us pick the new name for the station. For what
This
it's
is
worth.
in
Anyway.
Minnesota. Where
Yeah,
at?
Ely's up just west of Duluth.
Hmm.
So it's up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just dropped a fresh Ely newsletter into your inboxes. Inside it, name the AM. So kind of fun stuff. Anyway, it's just like I say, knowing that there are still competitions and radio is still, I guess, interfacing with the world, if you will. Magnetic North does compare. Just scrolling back through the chats. Cole's got a good comment in here about because Barry was talking about recycling transmitters, and there are still some out there that do contain PCBs. So pay attention to that unless you want the EPA to come knocking, and that gets really expensive really fast. see, non-com FM antenna gains. Yep. Magnetic north continues to move. Yes, it does. So here's another question just for the brain trust. How far are we from the poles doing a flip? Going to happen in our lifetimes? Nobody wants to commit. Mark just says no. Or when's our next Carrington event going to happen? At which point none of this will matter because we won't be on the internet then.
It's nothing would surprise me though. I mean, we're seeing earthquakes and everything else going on in places that you're not expecting. So, yeah,
I'm sitting in an area that is third highest in Canada for rainfall, and we've had 1 inch of rain in 3 months, and we got that all in 4 hours about a month and a half ago.
yeah, and those are the bad kind too, because it just runs off.
Right, because the ground is so dry right now. I mean, I've replumbed my upstairs kitchen and laundry room to a drain pipe going out under the back lawn just to try and get some moisture into the ground. But yeah, it is crazy. And let me guess, see, did my mic switch back on me?
No, you still sound all right.
All right. So anyway,
it's
on
a
that note,
little boomy.
yeah, well, that's this USB microphone, and I've got really tired old voice, and I'm kind of way too close to it. But anyway,
not to worry.
On that note, I need to let go anyway and go get some whatever it is they pay me to do done. But
Well, hey,
I've had a lot of fun.
Thank you for coming in and chatting with us. And yeah, there's always a good tip or trick there somewhere if we listen carefully.
Sometimes you have to dig a little harder for it. That's all.
Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank y'all. See you next time.